Ethics in business is not limited to senior leadership or formal compliance programs. From the boardroom to the supply chain, ethical challenges can arise wherever decisions affect people, resources, information, or organizational trust. In this lecture, I'll examine how those challenges appear across the core functions of business and how we can recognize them before they become larger problems. The goal is to build a practical understanding of ethical decision-making across every level of an organization, not just in places where issues are most visible. Business ethics is much more than a compliance checklist. It is a foundation for sustainable success and shapes how an organization earns confidence over time. Trust is built through consistent ethical behavior, strengthening credibility with customers, employees, and investors. Compliance matters as well, because clear ethical frameworks help organizations meet legal and regulatory obligations. Just as importantly, ethics shapes culture. When people see integrity reflected in everyday decisions, organizations are better positioned to attract talented employees and encourage meaningful engagement. Ignoring these standards can lead to legal liability, reputational damage, and lost stakeholder trust. Accounting and finance teams work with an organization's most sensitive information, so ethical lapses can have serious consequences. The central risk is using financial information to mislead others or gain an unfair advantage. That can include manipulating earnings to meet targets or influence a stock price, trading on confidential information, or allowing undisclosed financial relationships to compromise an auditor's or advisor's judgment. Fraudulent reporting is another major concern, whether through falsified records or by leaving out information that stakeholders need to make informed decisions. Marketing and sales operate in a space where persuasion can easily cross into manipulation. When claims are misleading or data practices are unclear, the damage goes beyond one campaign. Consumer trust declines, and the company may face regulatory consequences. The FTC actively monitors deceptive advertising and can impose significant fines. Ethical marketing requires more than legal compliance. It means communicating truthfully, explaining how consumer data is used, and respecting people's ability to make informed choices, with particular care when campaigns target vulnerable populations. Ethics in human resources centers on fairness, dignity, and responsible decision-making. HR professionals influence who gets hired, promoted, and protected, so their choices have significant consequences. Fairness must be applied consistently across the employee experience. That means preventing bias in recruitment, addressing harassment and bullying rather than ignoring them, and protecting sensitive records, medical information, and personal communications. It also means identifying pay inequities, especially when comparable roles receive different compensation for reasons unrelated to merit. Together, these responsibilities help build trust and support both employee well-being and legal compliance. This slide focuses on the ethical challenges operations teams face across global supply chains. Visibility is often limited, especially when production passes through multiple suppliers and subcontractors. At the same time, pressure to reduce costs can put labor standards, worker safety, and environmental responsibility at risk. The central challenge is that serious violations may remain hidden beyond the organization's direct view. Examples include child or forced labor, unsafe facilities concealed by subcontractors, illegal dumping or emissions fraud, and sourcing materials from conflict zones. These risks make ethical oversight an essential part of operations management. As technology becomes more central to business, ethical decisions in IT affect people at a very large scale. The goal is not simply to make systems work, but to make them responsible and trustworthy. That starts with collecting only the data we need and obtaining informed consent. It also means testing algorithms for bias, so automated decisions do not reinforce discrimination. Finally, organizations must treat cybersecurity as an ethical obligation, because neglecting it can expose sensitive customer and employee information. These responsibilities are connected. Privacy, fairness, and security all shape trust. Ethics in management begins at the top. Leaders shape organizational culture through the standards they demonstrate, the behavior they reward, and the misconduct they choose to overlook. When leaders cut corners, employees receive a clear message that results matter more than integrity. That is the meaning behind the familiar reminder: the fish rots from the head down. Ethical leadership requires more than setting rules. Leaders must model integrity, protect people who speak up, and hold themselves accountable to the same expectations they place on everyone else. In that way, ethical conduct can ripple throughout the entire organization. When an ethical challenge arises, I can use a consistent four-step framework before the situation escalates. First, identify the situation, who is affected, and what values are at stake. Next, apply relevant legal, professional, and organizational standards. Then, evaluate the available options by considering both short and long-term consequences. Finally, make a decision I can defend with integrity. This process works across finance, HR, marketing, IT, and other business functions. It creates space to pause, reflect, and choose the most ethical path. These cases show how ethical failures can emerge across different business functions, not just in one department. Enron's accounting fraud destroyed $74 billion in shareholder value and cost 20,000 people their jobs. Volkswagen's engineers used software to cheat emissions tests, exposing serious gaps in engineering oversight and compliance, and creating a scandal worth more than $30 billion. Facebook, or Meta, faced scrutiny after Cambridge Analytica revealed consumer data had been harvested and misused without meaningful consent. The central lesson is that culture, controls, and accountability must work together. The key message is that ethics touches every business function, not just compliance. Recognition comes first, because we cannot address problems we fail to identify. Culture is shaped by leadership behavior, and ethical failures have real consequences, from lost trust and regulation to lasting reputational damage.